Thank you for being here with me. It is 8:08 p.m. and I am so tired. I'm ready for bed, basically. I am not far from crawling into that bed and hopefully sleeping because 5 minutes till 6 a.m., which is when my alarm is going to go off. That's going to come really quickly. so, um, and actually, I may end up having to set my alarm for a little bit earlier because we have basically homework to do. It's essentially a set of poses to do every morning for the whole rest of the time that we're here, at least, but really going forward. And I can see why they're foundational, but they're just the manner of teaching is just it's just so different than what I have ever experienced before, and so thorough and thoughtful and accommodating and creative, and I could go on and on with adjectives, but basically I'm incredibly grateful to be here. I am exactly in the right place. I am exactly where I need to be, and it's pushing every limit that I have already, and this was literally the first day. Like, what did I get myself into? But seriously, it is definitely pushing all of my limits in the best ways possible. So there are 24 of us in the class. It's all women, actually. Two of the teachers are male, but all the rest are female. So there is so much feminine energy, which, because I am just starting to really explore my feminine side, my feminine energy, because I'm really just getting into that myself. I mean, it's really the perfect time and place and situation for me right now, and all of these souls are just beautiful, and I realized some really important things today, and I don't know that I'm going to even be able to recount all of it, because I would probably be here for like an hour. And I have a feeling that every day is going to be like this too. So it's going to take a little while for me to really integrate this once I get home. Yeah. Anyway, one thing that really struck me this morning was it doesn't matter what your body looks like, aesthetically speaking. What matters is how are you standing? Is your weight evenly distributed on your foot, on each foot? Are you consciously thinking about raising your arches? And then that goes all the way up the body. It really doesn't matter what your body looks like from an aesthetic perspective. What matters is alignment. And what matters is, are you actually connected to your body? Do you actually listen to your body? Do you have a conversation with your body? Or is your body just basically screaming at you all the time and you just tune it out? So, and I used to be one who tuned it out. I did. I tuned out my body for years. So it just really struck me today, during class at some point this morning. It just really struck me how beautiful all of our bodies are, because they're all so different and so individual. And um, what makes a body beautiful is that it belongs to you. And how you care for that body, how you care for your one body is, that it says a lot, basically. um, yeah. So I one of the warm-up poses that we are to do is, it's basically a form of camel pose, which I have talked about it before, but I'm not really set up to demonstrate it for you right now. But you can just Google camel pose if you want to see what it is. So it's a variation of camel pose, but it's actually moving into the pose and then moving out. That's the whole motion that's part of our assigned warm-up. And I cried happy tears in Camel today, because it felt so deeply good, because of what I had already learned just this morning, applying that to camel pose, and how much better camel pose felt for me, just applying the little bit of knowledge that I picked up this morning. And so I was like happy tears were streaming down my face, because it just felt so good. You know, the teachers they are so thorough and engaged and thoughtful, and just, I've already said this, but it's just, they're always checking in. And we spent quite a bit of time actually discussing the various injuries that people have. And and the main teacher, his name is Deep, he's basically going to each person who has injury. And I am one of the people in the class who has more injuries than most. So it really kind of surprised me a little bit when we were going around the opening circle last night, and so many people said, I have no injuries. And part of that is possibly because I would say most of the people here they're young. They're in their early 20s. Not most, maybe half. And then another good section of women are, between the ages of 25 and let's say 35. And then the rest of us, basically, which they're only, as far as I know, there are only 2 of us who are over 40. So I don't know. Anyway, but it occurred to me that I actually have quite a few injuries. And what I so appreciate is that we were tabletop pose is one of the ones that we are to use as a warm-up. And I hate that pose so much, because it's an awkward position, especially for your arms, but really primarily for your wrists and your hands, which I have carpal tunnel, and so it's really, really uncomfortable. So basically, we walked through different variations, but then I still was struggling with it. And actually there were several of us who were still struggling with it. And so it's a matter of he came over and he's like, okay, try this. Okay, how does that feel? Okay, that's still not working. Okay, how about, well, what about this? And so it ended up that like the edge of my yoga mat folded over to give me just a little bit more height. And then I put only like this part of my hand and like this part. So like basically what's below is on the mat and what's above is on the floor. So it's giving me just enough lift so that my wrist is not taking so much pressure. And that was perfect. It worked great. And I was like, that's amazing. I love that creativity. I love the fact that, I was not treated like, a freak of nature. I was treated like, oh, okay, well, let's just try something else. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. But there are just so many teachers who just sort of, well, you can just sit this one out. And I hate that. I get really frustrated at that. So anyway, going through, I've done more yoga in one day than I've done well, honestly, I have been practicing fairly regularly, but still, I've done more yoga today than I would normally do in like a whole week at home, probably. And that's a lot. That's a lot of yoga in one day. And I have 21 days of this. Oh my God. Well, should be interesting. Anyway. So, the other thing is that, God, there's so much. We spent quite a lot of time on anatomy today. So we have there's a format where we have a focus of specific yoga poses and yoga, like different considerations from alignment standpoint for every day. And then, we're getting into the introduction. Today we had an introduction of the origin of yoga and sort of the basis for the philosophy. And then we also had, the beginning of anatomy. So every single day, we're going to have different focus for yoga and philosophy and anatomy. And then, so we start the day with yoga, end the day with yoga, middle of the day is yoga all the time. So anyway, I guess that's sort of the point, because it is yoga teacher training. Okay, I'm like losing my mind here. I'm so tired. So what I did not expect, though, was for such strong emotions to come up during meditation. So we had an hour-long meditation, and it was guided very specifically. It was a specific format, and I kept feeling this like there's just my throat, like basically my throat chakra I have had some clenching, and I've had some tightening, and like every time I do this, my jaw pops. I don't know if that came across on camera, if you could hear it, but anyway, so during meditation, I was just feeling like I just can't, like there was literally nothing physically on my throat, but it was a feeling, okay? And like I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, but it needs to, I just had to, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so you get the point. So basically, immediately after, a bunch of like grabbing at my throat, I immediately had this flashback of um, my mom right after she died in the hospital, and I was in her hospital room um, after the fact. And I had a very traumatic experience on the yoga mat with this just weeks after she died. And for whatever reason, that flashback kind of came back to me during meditation. And then during the final prayer, and so anyway, so then I started feeling panicky, like, oh, I'm gonna have to get up and walk out of here because this is too much. It's too intense. I just can't. But I managed to still keep breathing through it. And then the final kind of part of the final prayer for the meditation, we were sitting at this point, and it was basically part of the prayer, the final invocation, where the messaging was basically a prayer to essentially the world, and part of it was, you are my mother, you are my everything. And as soon as he said, you are my everything, I just lost it. Because, I miss my mom every day. I miss my sister every day. And, sometimes during anniversaries, like yesterday being my sister's birthday, it's more intense. And then there are times like this where it's like there seems to be no real rhyme or reason, but it's just that intensity, and it just washed over me, and I just tears, and I was actually having a hard time not audibly sobbing. I was sobbing just silently. But it took me a while to recover from it, but I had there were there were a few people stayed with me, and helped me kind of just finish releasing, and just calm back, calm myself. And then basically I was okay at that point, so I was supported, basically. And my jaw actually doesn't feel so tight like it did before, and my throat actually feels very open. So I feel like there was something that, the body holds everything. The body holds trauma, the body holds grief and loss, the body holds everything. And until you consciously release it. And so yoga is one very extremely powerful way to release things that you've been holding. And so in talking with one of the teachers before I came to my room, she said, it could have been that you just had a big release, that something lodged loose in your body that you had been holding, and it would just, that was the release of just that, coming out. And that made a lot of sense to me. And I can't tell you how many times it's happened when I've been on the mat. It happens in other ways as well, but it's just so powerful when it happens, because it kind of levels you, first of all, but it's also just it's just very healing. It's very healing. So it's been quite a day, and I feel I also feel just extremely passionate about how much I want to help people. And immediately, the people who come to mind are people I love. How much I want to help people with introducing them to yoga in a way that's non-threatening, and in a way that is loving, and in a way that is useful and helpful and healing. And you know, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but there are specific people who come to mind, and I'm just like, oh, I just want to spend time, with this person face to face, and just spend time with their body and their soul, and and help. I want to help people truly accept themselves, including their bodies, but accept themselves just totally, radically as they are. And that is, because that is quite a gift. If you can do that, if you can radically accept yourself as you are, that is the greatest gift that you can give the world. So with that, I will leave you. So thank you so much for being here with me. Have a good evening.